Good afternoon guys and welcome back to my channel. My name's Max. I used to host the Black Jersey full time. Now I'm temporarily coming out of retirement to cover the British and Irish Lions tour because holy hecka, it's going to be exciting. In my previous video I talked about who the coaching team are and what their coaching philosophies are. The thing is, a question that rugby fans ask too often is who is getting selected rather than how a selection's being decided and what a coach is selecting. Everybody has favourite players. I'm guilty of this as well. Hugh Jones, for example, I think is the best number 13 in the world. But would Hugh Jones do well in South Africa? Probably not. He doesn't have a skill set that suits their game plan. That's the thing when it comes to coaching. So, what I'm going to do is follow up my last video and talk about selection criteria for every single position up for grabs in the British and Irish Lions. We're going to start off by talking about the props, and they will mostly be decided by John Fogarty, who is going to be the set piece coach. The most important thing for props going into the British and Irish Lions series is form. If you want to be a prop for the British and Irish Lions, you must be the best player in your position. Prop is the one position where you cannot hide from being in poor form, The thing is for props is they are the most important position on a rugby pitch, therefore you've got to have the best in the job to do it. Another criteria that I think is going to be very important for props is going to be blokes with good ball handling skills. Due to the previous history of Andy Farrell, Simon Easterby and John Dalzell, it's going to be very important for props to be used as link men. They'll be giving short balls quite regularly and they'll also be asked to do a fair bit of offloading, so that's also going to benefit the props who are indeed in form. While form will ultimately determine who's going to make the team, who starts for the team of the Test series is going to come down to this skill set here, and they'll obviously be asked to give some aggressive carrying to counter the likes of Angus Bell and Alan Ala-Ala-Tor, who have very high likelihoods of being selected for Australia. As we move on to the hookers, I think it's going to be important to have a point of differentiation between the three hookers. They'll want them to serve very different roles on defence so that they can change their game plan a little bit based on some attack strategies that Australia decide to run with. Line-out accuracy is going to be the second to most important thing, because at the end of the day you've got to get your set piece right, and if there's one area that John Fogarty demands absolute perfection from, it is the set piece. An ability to run in wide channels is also likely going to benefit candidates, so this may count against the likes of Luke Cowan-Dickie, who have lost a lot of pace. As we move on to the locks, I think they're also going to be asked to give a fair bit of distribution towards this team. Just a little sneak preview there, I do think Scott Cummings for this reason could be a bolter for the series, though he missed the Six Nations due to injury. Explosive power and shared experience with the hookers is also going to be absolutely massive for these locks. They'll want to have a good spine of experienced players who have shared minutes with each other, given the fact that the Lions assemble so shortly before this tour. A low penalty count as well is going to be important from the locks, so this may count against the likes of Joe McCarthy and of course Ollie Chesson. The loose forwards, though, the fact that John Dalzell is an assistant coach is a dead giveaway as to how loose forwards could potentially be used. Explosive power and kick chase expertise will be absolutely demanded. Players like Billy Vunipola will not be in contention for this reason, I don't believe. A high jackal count is also going to be preferential for this reason, because when loose forwards are used as kick chasers, they're typically expected to win ball back for their own team. Richard Wigglesworth has started both the Curry brothers for England for this reason, so we can expect him to have an aligned ideology with Easterby and with Dalzell on this matter. As we move over to Scrum-half, this is another area that Richard Wigglesworth will have a very strong influence in. He's likely going to expect very precise box kicking from his nines, therefore we could see some unexpected players on the plane for this reason. He'll also like them to have a good foresight of support lines, given the fact that the two nines outside of Jamison Gibson Park will essentially be asked to do their best impression of Jamison Gibson Park should Jamison Gibson Park get injured. Obviously, shared experience there, with the number 8 is also going to be preferred by the Lions coaches, given the fact that the spine are the most important key decision makers for your rugby team. Therefore, cohesion between players in your spine are going to be very, very important. We're now going to move on to fly half, because at the end of the day, Andy Farrell has a very, very particular criteria on what he wants for a fly half, as demonstrated by the fact that every single fly half he has thus far selected for the Irish has been asked to do their best impression of Johnny Sexton. As I mentioned in my previous video, Billy Burns was the exception to this rule, and because he was very unanimated, I'll say, and not that loud, he finished playing for them with just 7 test caps to his name. Harry Byrne, perhaps less vocal than his older brother Ross, also finished with single-figure test caps, which I was personally quite disappointed by, as he had so much potential. The thing is, every fly half that Andy Farrell has ever selected for Ireland has had very animated body language. Johnny Sexton was essentially selected to be an on-field coach who, if worst case scenario required, would still be able to run with the ball. This is a big thing about fly halves for Andy Farrell, and he's also likely going to want a point of attacking difference between his 3 fly halves should he select 3 fly halves. Some fly halves may be used to come off the bench and specifically close games out, while other fly halves selected for this tour may be asked to cover different positions. As we move to the midfield combination, it's another one where they're going to be asked to have a lot of shared experience with each other, because there aren't a lot of experienced fly halves going around. These fly halves selected will likely have to rely on a lot of talk from their midfield partners. Shared experience with each other means that there probably won't be a single Welsh midfielder selected for this tour. Jackling will also likely be preferred by Simon Easterby, Andrew Goodman and Richard Wigglesworth. John Dalzell will appreciate it as well, given the fact that he loves selecting 2 open sides for Scotland. Andrew Goodman, in his time with the Crusaders in Tasman, always selected a playmaking distributor at 12 with a big boy 13 in the outside channel. So he's got a much aligned perspective on this with Richard Wigglesworth. Given the fact that Goodman thinks like this, the 12 would often be kicking for the Crusaders, and obviously Bundy Aki has a surprisingly elite kicking game when casuals tune in to watch the game and realise that he's more than just a basher. Sione Tuipulotu, for all his power, is a very good kicker as well, while Tom Jordan was initially selected for Scotland as a fly half. These are some of the names I will likely mention in my next video about the pool of 80 players who could be on this tour. We're now going to move to the outside backs, and similarly to the props, form is going to be the most important factor for outside backs. Other positions will get selected on factors such as experience, what they bring to the game plan, but for props and outside backs, form will always be the most important thing. This is why Josh Adams will likely never go on a Lions tour again, because with how the Welsh have gone, he's just not going to be a contender. Distribution is also going to be a heads-up play advantage that outside backs would bring to this tour. Given the fact that big boy 13s are a favourite of Andrew Goodman, fly halves may step in to the wide channels with the wingers coming in to distribute. A kicking game will obviously come with that as well, so we could see the likes of James Lowe get starts in the test matches. A kicking game is very, very important to Andy Farrell as well, who uses his wingers for similar reasons. And obviously the fullback will have a little bit of leeway coming to experience and form, because the fullback is going to be a part of the key decision-making spine, though the fullback will also need a little bit of form as a bonus just to get on that plane. Let me know what you think of this video down below in the comments, guys. As mentioned earlier in the video, I'm going to follow it up with a pool of 80 plus players who could be contenders for this British and Irish Lions tour. Thank you very much for watching the video, guys. I appreciate it a lot. I've enjoyed making these 2 videos so far, and I appreciate everybody who has selected to watch my videos now that I'm back on YouTube temporarily. See you later, guys. Much appreciated, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers from Max.